One of the things that I was talking about yesterday is while I was working on the double bass stuff, I was playing through Chug with Hertas, and I was playing it from 60 to like 70 beats a minute, which is like nice and slow. So when I was playing through, it was like very motivating. It was like, oh, I noticed like progress from where it was even just like a week ago. Like it feels more comfortable, it's easier to play, etc. But if you are a beginner or intermediate, you don't have that context. So you don't know like, well, how long does it actually take to be able to improve the thing? Because my hands can play that particular like phrase significantly faster then my feet can do it. I know what it took to get my hands to that level. I know how long it took. I know the effort. I know the practice routines, etc. I have that context because I've been drumming for almost 30 years. But when it comes to my feet, I haven't worked on my feet. Like drum kit is something I spent very little time on. I know what it's going to take to be able to do that. And it's motivating to find the little small wins in there. But if you are newer to drumming and you don't have that like set of skills that you have spent years improving and are at like a really high level, you don't really have that context to like point to, and it might feel like it's pointless. If you listen to like interviews, drummers that you really admire, that you look up to, specifically focus on like how long they spent practicing, what it took, or how many years they've been playing, etc. If you focus on that and really hone in on that, that can give you some context for, oh, I need to like not think about spending like an hour or two trying to refine something. I need to start thinking in terms of like months and years trying to refine this thing. You don't have that context. So if you are new to learning a skill, so like when I was teaching in like the K-12 like environment, like a lot of the students that I work with, they hadn't developed expertise in something yet. So they didn't know just how much effort it was going to take. So they'd be like, I want to become like the best drummer in the world. And then when they like actually sit down to work on it, they're not willing to put that effort into it because they think, oh, well, I just need to spend like 50 hours and then I'll be like one of the best, right? And it's like, no, how about like 5,000 just to even get to be an average drummer? There's a study that I read a long time ago that was talking about for international level musicians, it takes about 21,000 hours of practice. And that's just the average for it. For some people, it might take longer. It might not feel like you're making that progress, which can be demotivating. If you don't have that context for how long it's going to take, but you feel like you're not making any wins, is to actually record yourself playing one thing that you want to try and improve, and then go back to that recording a month later or a quarter later after you have like been working on it trying to improve it. Odds are you're going to notice the improvement there. You're going to notice the gains. Maybe it's only like 10 clicks faster, but it feels just as comfortable. But you'll actually be able to like compare your current understanding to your prior understanding, and then you set yourself a goal for where you want to go next. So if you keep doing these like monthly or quarterly reflections where you're actually recording yourself, you can keep going back to those over time. So if you use a progress journal like this can also help you out as well. So like when I was working on the limb independent stuff and like learning how to do it, a lot of these like did not sound good when I first started it. Like pattern number 53, when I first started it, it was needs a lot of work for a long time. And then it became technically proficient. And now it's like on average, technically proficient in column A. So it took a long time of work to be able to go through that. And I was able to notice that progress over time because I was keeping track of it. These are limb independence patterns that I was keeping track of, but you can do this with like anything that you're working on. So if you go to drumming tip number 74, there's actually a link to make your own version of the spreadsheet. So the second link right here, being able to like keep track of like the micro improvements over time through these macro journaling or reflection processes or recording yourself playing can help you to like see that progress over time that you might not notice. If you look at this, when I was first starting these limb independence patterns, they were like not good yet. They were meh or needs a lot of work. And it wasn't until I just like sat there and like spent the year just going through all of these patterns that like now, when we look at this, all of them on average in column A are at least technically proficient or musical. It took significant period of time to work on it. But my goal was I want to be able to play all 62 of these different variations at least technically proficient. So if you have a very solid, here's what I want to do, like this is the goal that I have, like I want to be able to play this thing or be able to play this exercise or be able to speed up this rudiment or sticking pattern or whatever it is that you're working on. Having a very specific target for you to work toward and then kind of working backwards towards like, well, what are my long-term, mid-term, and short-term goals that all contribute towards being able to improve on that thing, that can help out with that. So if you look at like goal setting videos, there's a ton of those like that can help out with it. There's entire books dedicated to that. That can help you to stay focused and not get distracted by like new shiny object like, oh, well, I wanted to work on my flam drags, but oh, look at that, chuck cheeses, woo! Like ignore that. The flam drags is the thing that you set a goal on because it's the most important thing because of A, B, or C reasons that you provide for yourself, etc. One of the things that can help with being able to figure out how to not get distracted is to have some kind of guidance through either following like a method book or a private lessons instructor, or like focusing on a specific piece. Like I want to learn how to play like Michi on marimba or whatever. Like that can help like focus and keep you indistractable with like every other option that there is out there. So like I have behind my desk here a ton of method books, and I've like sight read through all of them, gone through the majority of them, worked through them to just like give myself some guidance on like what are some things that I can work on. And every single instructor that you have in every method book is going to focus on some things in different ways, and it's going to work better for some students over others. That can be very helpful, but those are more expensive. One of the things that you can do is you can just like ask questions like in the chat or in the videos, etc. Like, hey, I want to be able to work on flams. What are like 3 flam exercises that you'd recommend for this specific thing that I want to work on? And I'm happy to like point you in that direction. It makes it feel like a little less daunting, a little less overwhelming when it's like, hey, just work on this, and next we're going to work on this thing. And like just having that like step-by-step process to be able to go through can really help out. And if you're like an instructor who's like helping students, that can help them out. Like I created like my own like sequence of things for each student. Like, hey, we're going to do this, and then here's our long-term goal, and like here are the exercises we're going to learn to get towards that long-term goal, etc. Like that can be helpful. The thing that like counts towards the hours of like actually improving is like something called deliberate practice. So K. Anders Ericsson is the one who like popularized this term. Basically, he was a researcher who looked at like what does it take to get to like the Olympic level athlete or like the international level musician, etc. Engage in a process of deliberate practice. You need to be able to intentionally work on something with a lot of focus and do that over an extended period of time, and do it in a way that is like isolating and breaking down things to try and improve it. When doing that, you need to be able to also get immediate feedback, ideally. For example, if you record yourself playing through something and then play it back, you can play it back and you can listen to it and see, well, how did it sound? Or you could play it back and you can mute it and you can be like, okay, well, what did this look like? How did it flow? What happens if I slow this down to a quarter of the speed? What do my hands look like? Like, am I tightening up, or am I able to like play relax, etc.? This is the level of focus that is required when you're doing deliberate practice. So if you go back into the stream that I did the other day, you'll see that there's a section in here that says that I was analyzing my sweeps. I'm over here watching myself playing this at quarter of speed to figure out like what is going on with my hands that I can try and improve. And now today I'm going to actively try and spend some time working on that. So just sitting there and like grinding out playing the same thing over and over might end up being a waste of your time, because you're not actually like getting at the root of the issue that is holding you back with being able to like speed up like a paradiddle. So when you slow things down, you isolate things, you analyze things, you look at things like what is going on with how it looks, how it sounds, how it feels, etc. That is the level of attention that you need to be able to put to it. And if you have that kind of a focus when you are working towards whatever your goal is, like the odds are you're not going to get distracted, because you're going to be so focused on like, well, there's like a billion different things that I could do to improve my technique. Like with my own playing, like I'm like, okay, well, how do I refine like where my index is on my left versus my right? Or what about the amount of contact that's on the thumb? Like it was changing the other day when I was playing this, where it was like creeping forward like this on my left hand, but on my right hand, the thumb was remaining flat. But then my left hand was also like, it was flat here as opposed to at it like that American tilt, etc. So like this is all related to just one thing, which was like diddle sweeps moving from this drum to this drum. And I could sit there and just like break down each one of these for like days or weeks or months, etc. So if you like look at like the things that you're trying to improve from that level of granularity, then odds are you're going to improve over time, because you have so many things that you can focus on with that one particular thing. It takes time. The process that it takes to develop is more than most people think. So a lot of students that I would work with over the years, they would like have this ambitious goal, but they didn't realize like exactly how long it took to get there. Like I've been drumming for almost 30 years. I still have a ton of stuff that I'm trying to work on, and I'm actively like working on in these streams and whatnot. And it's going to be the same for everybody. So if you want to get like at the international level of something, the amount of focus and attention to the detail that you have to do to be able to get to that is difficult. There are costs that come with that, and I do talk about that in some other drumming tips videos, where the cost of like how much time it takes is going to take away time from other things that you're going to do, whether it's like family, friends, relationships, whatever. Those are things that you have to be able to balance, is like how much time are you spending drumming versus how much time are you spending not drumming. How that like scale looks for you is going to be different from somebody else. So somebody else might be able to make progress faster than you because they're just simply able to put more time into it, but they're going to have a lot more sacrifices that they're putting into it that isn't necessarily going to be worth it for everybody else. So like for me, I like actively turned down relationships in high school so I could just focus on practicing. So I had like 2 different women who asked me to prom. And I was like, no, I'm going to go over to rehearsal. That was something that I was willing to do. But then a lot of my friends who also wanted to be good drummers were like, no, I don't want to have that far of an extreme where like drumming is my number one and everything else is on the wayside. They were going for more of a balance, which is fine. Like everybody's going to be different in terms of like where you want that. And then that balance is also going to change throughout your life. You're going to go through seasons where it's going to be like drumming's number one, and then maybe drumming's a lower priority, and then it might come back again, etc. If you're prioritizing your drumming more than other things in life, there are going to be people who question that balance, and they're going to be like, why are you focusing so much on trying to improve on this thing? You're neglecting hanging out with friends or like whatever. They're right, but like also your goals are not their goals, and they don't get to dictate what you do with your life. But like if you feel good while doing it, and you're okay with the sacrifices that come with improving and practicing, etc., and you're okay with being like, hey, I'm actually like not going to be hanging out with you guys as much as I was previously. Just want to give you a heads up, like for the next few months, I'm really going to be focusing on this thing, which is improving. There are going to be people who are like, yeah, I totally get that. And then there are going to be people who will be like, no, that's not acceptable. And they're not going to like that. But like, they are not dictating your life. They should have no say over that. If you have friends, family, significant others who are not okay with the amount of dedication and effort that you want to put towards something, but you are willing to do that and make some of the sacrifices, there are other people who are out there who are also type A people who might be like, yeah, that's fine. Well, you are like working your butt off towards that thing. I'm going to be working my butt off towards this other thing. And like, that's okay. Just know that there will be some pushback, and there will be some people who will be jealous of the amount of effort and time that you're going to put towards something, because when you are really pushing yourself, other people will look at and go, well, I'm not pushing myself, rather than going like, yeah, high five. Like, you're doing awesome. I'm not able to put in that work. I'm not willing to put in that work, but I'm really happy for you. Those are the kind of people that you want in your life. But if it's somebody that's like, no, I don't want you to like improve yourself because I'm not willing to do that myself, so I'm going to try and tear you down because it makes me feel better. You don't need those kind of people in your life. They are a net negative. So like, they are in the long run going to hold you back from the things that you want to do, from the positive impact that you want to have on yourself and the people around you. If there are people who are like that, who are constantly questioning your decision to do what's best for you and your goals and what you want to do and the impact you want to have on the world, a positive one, I wouldn't spend time with them. I like how you said like, quick question, and then I like ranted for like 20 minutes or something.